The other French-style bastioned fortress built in Malta during the 18th century was Fort Chambray, mentioned briefly earlier on. Unlike Fort Manoel, Fort Chambray was conceived primarily as a fortified city and not as a purely military establishment. Still, its design likewise sums up the contemporary ideas that European military architects of the time considered to be the apogee of the art of fortification. In this respect, Fort Chambray holds a unique position as the only fortress conceived as a true Baroque fortified town. One designed to embody contemporary theories on the unification of the visual arts with urban and military planning, to produce a structure with a heightened sense of drama and power. A plan of the fortified city, drawn around 1754, reveals a town intended to be laid out on a grid pattern of avenues and streets, enclosed by square blocks of houses with internal gardens. The focal point of the new city, which was to be approached by a wide avenue, took the form of a spacious piazza containing the main public buildings. These were to be fronted by an arcaded portico in the fashion of contemporary ideas about the visual quality and vista potentials of urban spaces, conceived as part of the new Baroque order. In practice, however, the town inside the new fortifications never took root, and Fort Chambray, which was begun in 1749, remained a purely military station, devoid of any structures except for a large bomb-proof barrack block, a chapel, and a small gunpowder magazine. Whatever the reason for the abandonment of the scheme, and there were many, Fort Chambray was to prove to be the last exercise in the establishment and building of a major fortress to the conventions of the bastioned trace. But there was another very important reason why Fort Chambray would prove to be the last of the bastioned fortresses. For by the latter half of the 18th century, the supremacy of the bastion system of fortifications was being increasingly challenged by the growing popularity of another style of fortification, the tenile trace, revived and developed by another Frenchman, Marc-René Marquis de Montalembert. The appeal of this new polygonal fortification was that it did away with bastions and curtain walls and thus enabled a greater concentration of guns in protective casemated batteries to make full use of the increased effective range of which the latest weapons were then capable of. Ironically, Montalembert's pioneering ideas found little favour in France, as most French engineers clung to the traditional concepts and models established by Vauban. Montalembert's concepts, however, were quickly taken up and developed by the Germans in Prussia, and would eventually become the established method of fortress building throughout the rest of Europe in the following century. That Montalembert's ideas also found their way to Malta is attested by Fort Tinier, the last significant fortified work built by the Knights of St. John in Malta in the year 1793-95. This small fort, more of a redoubt really, was designed by the order's resident French military engineer Stephen de Touzard, who seems to have borrowed very heavily from the lunettes built by Jean-Claude Eleanor Lemichaud d'Arson at Mont Dauphin in France. With its circular musketry tower keep, diamond-shaped plan, and counterscarp musketry galleries and countermines, it was to prove a definite and clear break from the traditional bastion style of fortification found around Valletta and its harbours. The story of the development of the polygonal system, as it would evolve and rise to dictate the conventions of fortress design in the 19th century, however, is another story.